very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch, a show that gives you all the latest news and updates from the digital ecosystem. I'm Priyashi. It is 5 p.m. on a Monday evening. Thank you so much for logging in. First up, let's begin with the top news headlines that we've been tracking this evening. As India Inc. prepares for its first paperless budget, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has launched a Union Budget app. Now, on this app, users will be able to access all the budget documents immediately after the Finance Minister's speech. Well, moving on to the second headline of the day, the government has decided to continue its ban on Chinese apps, including TikTok. To remember that this comes after the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology reviewed the responses of all these Chinese app makers. Do remember that the government last year in June had banned about 59 Chinese apps and later in September had banned 118 more apps last year. Well, the Atmanirbhar Digital India Foundation, which is the newly formed body of startups, has written to the RBI and the government alleging that WhatsApp's recent privacy policy update poses to be a threat for the payment and financial data of users. They also say that it violates RBI's localization mandate and therefore they should consider suspending features like WhatsApp Pay in India. Well, moving on to the final headline of the day, video commerce platform Kiko TV has raised an undisclosed amount from US venture capital firm SOSV. Do remember that the funds will be used to accelerate product development and increase adoption. Do remember that the company had recently raised the seed round from 9 unicorns.
Well, moving on to our second segment of the day, we have with us somebody who has really brought spices and seasonings to the Indian market in a big way. We have with us Ashish Potdar, who is the business head at Keya Foods. Thank you, Mr. Potdar, for joining us on the Daily Dispatch at YourStory. I want to begin by asking you, from a player that has primarily been into spices and seasonings to a larger player that's also operating in the ready-to-eat space, how has been your journey in terms of how have you grown this kind of distribution in the Indian market?
Thanks, Priya. It's a pleasure to be on your story. I think, as you rightly said, Keya as a business is known for its spices and seasonings. And that's what our heritage is. That's what our DNA is. But what we realized over a period of time is that our brand equity and the strength of our brand and its loyalty amongst consumers is much bigger than the portfolio that we had. And to that extent, consumers have always accepted and enjoyed newer categories which come from Keya because they come with the same hallmark of taste, gourmet products, as well as they trust the quality and the experimentation that Keya brings to the table. To that extent, we have extended into soups, we have extended into pasta, we have extended into a lot of sprinkler categories. And we have just recently also extended the brand into specialty and gourmet spices. And what we have observed is that in each of these categories, consumers have given us the same love, the same acceptance that they have given to us for our core categories like spices and seasonings. So that is something that we've seen unravel over a period of time. And we've seen the business grow, we've seen the distribution grow. And that's how we actually building Keya as a much stronger gourmet brand.
You spoke about distribution, and that's one very interesting aspect because there was a point in time when I did not see Keya products on shelves, and then suddenly over the last year or so, Keya products have shot to popularity on shelves in supermarkets. So what has been the secret sauce of success for this distribution strategy?
On the distribution front, I think, as you rightly said, we have always got a boost in demand across all channels. COVID was interestingly a very dynamic phase for us. We did face the brunt for the first 1 or 2 weeks. But then what we realized is consumers were taking to a lot of experimentation in the kitchen. There was a lot of home cooking, home enjoyment of food. And it gave us a shot in the arm for a lot of our distribution on shelf, as well as into newer outlets, newer categories, newer territories. We nearly doubled our town reach in the last 1 year or so. So we are now present in nearly 300 plus towns across the country. We are present in every modern trade format across all large chains. E-commerce has again been a revelation. It allows a mid-size brand like us to reach to any consumer across the entire country. and create demand in those places. So we are present on Amazon, we are present on Big Basket, and we supply to nearly every corner of the country. And sometimes we are surprised with the kind of demand that we are getting from even mid-tier or smaller towns. So what we believe is the Indian consumer is ready for the entire gourmet explosion. Is ready for accepting products and categories which are at par with what the entire global cuisine is, what gourmet cuisine is. And to that extent, what we have seen is this demand is coming across the country, from smaller towns, from mid-tier towns, from modern trade, and especially e-commerce, where the consumer is actually playing a large role in self-satisfying his desires. Okay, so he's no longer dependent on whatever is available in the regular distribution formats. If he has a need, if he has a desire for a certain kind of food, he's going out, reaching out to that particular brand, okay, and seeking that wherever he's placed across the country.
If you had to highlight which would be your top three selling products in the seasoning category, because that's a category that you all have seen massive traction in.
Oregano chili flakes is something that the Keya consumer knows us by. Every kitchen, every refrigerator will typically have a Keya product, and most of the times we know for a fact oregano chili flakes you will find across the breadth of the country. We also tasted great success with Peri Peri. Peri Peri is one of our blockbuster products, and that is something which consumers use with not just with fries, but what you realize is that they've started using it as a taste maker.
I use it too.
That's wonderful. We have a loyal customer. So peri peri is something which has the power to transform any food. And what we've seen is consumer use it for spicing up their vegetables, for spicing up bland food. We know of people who actually have it as a staple along with khichdi. So it can transform any food that it goes into. Okay. We've also got very good success with one of our products, which is Italian pizza oregano, which is again the conventional pizza masala, okay, which is sprinkled on top of a pizza. But other than these, what we realized is for the last few years, the consumer is experimenting across the entire herbs and seasoning lot. So, not just the oregano chili flakes, but people are experimenting with a thyme, with a rosemary, with a parsley, with Italian seasoning, with a lot of our marquee and bespoke spices that we give, like a cinnamon powder or a cardamom powder.
All of these spices are sourced from India. Where is the sourcing done from?
Yes, so we source a lot of our spices from India, but there are certain spices which, because most of our products are bespoke, and there is a certain taste that we really want to actually provide to the Indian consumer, we also import a lot of our ingredients across the world. Okay, and these come from across the world. Whichever are the best origin countries for a certain ingredient, we source it from them. Although a large part of our spice portfolio is sourced, from India.
Take me through the roadmap for 2021. I know there are a lot of new products and categories that you have in the pipeline. So for all our viewers, tell us what they can expect in 2021.
So we are looking forward to 2021. We are pretty excited about it because of the strong growth that we've actually seen in COVID and post-COVID also. So our strategy will lie on 3 or 4 pillars. So first and foremost, in terms of the portfolio, we expect a lot of strong growth on the herb seasoning portfolio. But we are building the spices portfolio, the Indian gourmet spices, traditional spices portfolio, as well as the Italian portfolio, which comprises of sauces, pasta sauces, gourmet sauces. Okay, so these are going to be the 2 growth drivers in terms of the portfolio for us. In terms of distribution, we intend to reach a large span of the country and penetrate nearly to every small tier 2 town across the country in terms of our distribution reach and penetration. Okay. In modern trade, we are going to focus on all large chains and drive visibility, drive shelf of share in all the formats that we are present. And in e-commerce, we want to build e-commerce across all platforms. So Amazon, Big Basket, Milk Basket, Super Daily. So there are multiple formats that are emerging, and we want to be the leading gourmet player across all e-commerce platforms for any consumer across the country that he needs to access gourmet food, and Keya will be there for him.
In terms of investment, I want to understand this kind of large scale expansion requires a lot of money to be pumped in. Are you looking at more private equity funding at this point in time? What are your investment plans?
In terms of the investments, we are part of the True North portfolio. We are a True North portfolio company, and we are self-sufficient, and we should be able to sustain the growth based on the investments that we have currently.
No new need for any funding at this point in time.
We should be okay with what we are able to manage in the business.
Right. And before I sign out of this chat, I want to ask you one final question. If you could recommend to our viewers the top 5 spices or seasonings, it could be a combination of any that they can buy and keep in their houses to make their food taste delightful.
Okay, I would not say 5. I would say as many as possible. But if I had to recommend, I would say, the oregano chili flakes from Keya is unmatched because of the freeze-dried ingredients that we use for our oregano. Italian pizza oregano, then peri spices. And I would also recommend our cinnamon and cardamom seed powders because they are again high on purity. We take a lot of effort on these products, and they are again unmatched. This is something that you will not get. The kind of quality and taste that you would get in a Keya product, you will not get typically, from other products. So these are some of the products that I would recommend.
All right, Mr. Potdar, we're hoping that viewers go and buy all these products and keep it in their houses. With that, many thanks for joining us on Your Story TV. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, time now to say goodbye. Thank you so much for logging in for this special show of Daily Dispatch. I'll see you on the 27th of January. That's on Wednesday at 5 p.m. See you and wish you all a very happy Republic Day.